Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
So for me, to say that step aside, you are not putting out. You cannot interfere in investigation. You cannot do anything. If in the end, innocent, the person is or exercise of discretion, yes, even though you are innocent, looking at the entire circumstances, I do not think that I will allow you to go back. All those discussions are there. But to say that all the person needed to do was immediately to take them out and then begin to take, even though you know that he come out to say that whatever happened, nobody can say so. And so you'll be looking for experts to come and authenticate that particular document. So it is a rush. Take any decision that later on you say that you have done as big as
Hare Krishna.
As we speak now, they are looking for
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad pranam.
So glorious.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad pranam.
Can we stop the music?
Yeah, please, we have a new teacher on board. We have a new teacher on board.
Because the person guilty of murder is sentenced to death. You find the person in a public place, hundreds of people are there, and then he fires and kills a person. Do you take him from that particular place?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please ask everyone to
Let's start, please.
No matter how you perceive a particular person's conduct,
Our time is going. Please let us start.
the person is innocent until
All right, so Mr. I'm not going to final comment, and I'll take the final one from you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Can we stop the music? The song.
Salika Prabhu. Stop the screen sharing so that we can start now. The screen is beautiful, very beautiful, but we want to start now.
Has he gone somewhere?
Hare Krishna, Salika ji. Please, we want to start now.
Krishna Krishna Hare
This beautiful screen we should
Hare
second.
Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna
Can you stop the music?
Hare Krishna
Amog,
Krishna Krishna
Please stop sharing the screen so that we can start. We want to start now, please.
you can mute it.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama
He's just wasting the time, Prabhuji.
Salika Prabhu.
Why is not listening?
Salika Prabhu ji.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Prabhu, please, I suggest you mute him because I think he is not aware of what is happening. So please try and mute him.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare
Please, Salika ji. Dandava pranam. All glories to you, Salika ji. Please, we are begging. Stop this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Bhakti Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Please, we are happy to announce to you that we have a new teacher for Unit 2. In person of His Grace, Madhusudan.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Madhusudan Visnu Prabhu is very.
Prabhu, your voice is not, I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, please. Can you hear me, other students?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
You
We can hear, but some others noise also is going there. So if they can mute, then it can be clear more.
Okay, please, other people should mute. Raganuga Bhakti Prabhu, you should mute. Okay, Hare Krishna. So please, we want to welcome His Grace Madhusudan Visnu Prabhu, our teacher for Unit, the first half of Unit 2. It's very simple, humble, and very, very insightful devotees.
Chaitanya Prema Prabhu, can you
Krishna?
hear me?
I can hear you, and other people are hearing me. Other students are hearing me, Salika Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So His Grace Madhusudan Visnu Prabhu, welcome, please. You can take the floor now and start. Maybe towards the end, our networks will be good enough for us to make the proper introduction. But our time is going and we really need to start now. So His Grace Madhusudan Visnu Prabhu, please come on board and kickstart. Thank you very much and welcome. We are very grateful to have you. Anytime we call upon you, you make sacrifices, make yourself available, and you give us very beautiful stuff. And we are very much happy with you. And we are fortunate to have you. Sadhu, Sadhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Let's chant one Hare
Madhu.
Krishna to welcome Madhusudan Visnu Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna. You're welcome.
Hare Krishna.
Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu, Hare Krishna. You're welcome.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Hare Krishna to His Grace Chaitanya Prema Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
Raganuga Prabhuji, mute, please.
Can the host give me the co-host rights, please?
Yeah.
Request the host to give me the co-host. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank
You
you.
are given.
Yeah, thank you. So please accept my humble obeisances, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. I'm sorry for the delay in joining in the session today. Very much thankful to His Grace Chaitanya Prem Prabhu for the warm welcome and the kind words. He's been very kind and generous upon us and allowing us to do this service to the devotees from West Africa. I can identify two personalities here. One is Prabhu and the other is Sadika Prabhu. And the rest are new to me. As of now, I don't know you personally. Even virtually, I've not come to know you. So before we begin the session, I would request all of you to give a 2-minute introduction about yourself. I would love to know something about you. Your name, where are you from, what is your seva, and how many times have you read Bhagavad Gita? So these few things you can tell us. We can start from anyone, whoever wants to go first. Raise your hand and please. Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Yes, my name is Sarome Gopi Devi Dasi. I am the disciple of Radharan Maharaj. And I was staying in Mira Road, but recently I came to Africa and I was studying Bhakti Sastri in Mira Road only from Gaur Vilas Prabhu, but because of I shifted here, I could not continue. So I started here again.
Okay.
And yes, that's only. I have not read Bhagavad Gita fully anytime.
All right, fine. Okay, welcome, Mataji. Welcome. Yes, thank you. Anyone else would like to go next? Yes, Madhusneha Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My name is Madhusneha Das, and last year just I took the initiation from Srinivas Vanchari Maharaj in Ghana. I'm basically from India, Gujarat, and I'm working in the Ghana. So, and I started the Bhagavad Gita since last 2 years. So almost I finished the one time to reading myself. And also we're doing some Bhagavad classes. So there are continuous to going to second times.
Okay.
And
fine.
just this is the first time the Bhakti Sastri class.
Okay. Fine.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. You're welcome, Prabhu. We have other devotees here. Kindly unmute yourself and let us know about yourself. Ashwini Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
I've been hearing of you, but this is the first time I'm seeing your face, your beautiful face. Yeah. Yes, I'm Ashwini Kumar Das, your humble servant, and a servant of Srivas Vanachari of Radha Krishna Temple. I joined Radha Krishna Temple mid-year.
Okay, I think Prabhu has network issue. Someone else can go next. Ashwini Kumar Prabhu, we could not hear you. Can you unmute yourself and complete it? Please unmute yourself, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
My name is Raganuga Bhakti. That's a disciple of His Grace Srila Srivas Vanachari Das Maharaj. And for the time being, I've been distributing books and also doing some public preaching. I've also read the Bhagavad Gita since last year. However, I've not completed the reading. So this is what I want to say about myself for now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. You're welcome to the course. Ramachandra Prabhuji. We cannot hear you, Prabhu. I can't hear you. Are others able to hear him? No.
You can hear?
Yes. Now we heard something.
Okay. I'm Ramachandra Das, a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Chaudhary Swami Maharaj. Just took initiation about 3 weeks ago. Currently Temple Commander at Sri Radha Govinda Temple, Accra Media. I've read Bhagavad Gita, let me say, 3 or 4 consecutive times. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. All done, right? At least who are present here, we did with all. Are we expecting some more to join? Or that's all?
Yeah, I think Nandini Dana who was here, but I think he has a network is off. So I think he'll be joining you later, maybe some 1 or 2 other students.
Okay, fine. So we'll start then.
I'll be leaving the book. I just have to start the platform so that you can continue. I'll be joining some other engagements. So
no
I'll be
problem.
leaving you.
No problem. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So we'll begin by chanting Mangalacharan prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Snapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Kartushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy to be with all of you. It's nice that we are a small group in one sense, because when the group is small, we can have a lot of discussion, a lot of churning of the subject that we'll be covering. But at the same time, I request all of you to be active. Otherwise, it will be me talking to myself, which is not going to be beneficial so much. So all of you be active, keep your video cameras on, and let us go deep into these 3 chapters which I am allotted to facilitate the teaching of chapter 7, 8, and 9. Up till now, what we have covered in Bhagavad Gita is called by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Karma Yoga. That section is called Karma Yoga, first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't mean that those 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita do not talk about bhakti, or they do not talk about jnana. They talk about bhakti and jnana, but Karma Yoga is prominently discussed in those 6 chapters. Okay, so those 6 chapters, everything is revolving around the self. In this case, Arjuna. What is Arjuna's duty? What should Arjuna be doing? Stuff like that. When we come to chapter 7, there is a transition. Chapter 7 now starts focusing on Krishna. Okay. And then all the chapters, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they'll be centered around Krishna. And then chapter 13 onwards, Lord Krishna will again shift the spotlight to another topic, which is what? The material nature, Prakriti. And all the chapters will be revolving around that particular subject. Okay. So this chapter, because it is related to Krishna and it is talking about devotional service, it begins the section called Bhakti Yoga. This is the connection. This begins the section called Bhakti Yoga. And the first chapter talks about the knowledge which is related to the Supreme Lord. I'll ask you to read some of the slides which I'll be showing. Someone can kindly read this. Unmute yourself and please read. Whoever would like to try.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulence, and how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also, 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material spirit soul capable in elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yoga. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is highest from all the yoga. 7.1 purport. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay. Different types of yoga are only stepping stone on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestation with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna is the supreme Supreme is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and the most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjun, Tak Charnu, or hear from me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, okay,
So
thank
this
you.
is how Srila Prabhupada begins the purport to first verse of this chapter. He says, Krishna begins this chapter with this verse, which has the word Tat Shrinu, which means you hear. Why? Arjuna was not attentive. That's why Krishna had to tell him, please hear. Like a spaced out student who is watching out of the window. So that person has to be brought back to, attention. So that's why is Krishna telling Arjuna, you hear? No, Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna, this subject matter, the matter of Bhakti Yoga, is understood by, first step is, you hear about it. You hear this knowledge, Bhakti Yoga. So we begin that chapter. Let's recite the first verse. Shri Bhagavana Uvacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashayaha Asangshrayang Samagrang Mang Yathagyasasi Tatshunu. This chapter has different sections, which you can see on the screen now. It has how many sections? 6 sections. I'll be sharing these slides later, so you need not worry about taking screenshots or taking notes. I'll share the slides. So it has 6 sections. The first section is about hearing. One should hear about Krishna. The second is Krishna is the source of both material and spiritual world. Third, the 3 modes of material nature. Fourth, 4 kinds of people don't surrender to Krishna. 4 kinds of people surrender to Krishna. Fifth, demigod worship and impersonalism. And sixth, bewilderment and freedom through knowledge. So these are the overall things discussed in this chapter. We are now at the first verse, which talks about hearing. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Free from doubt. Now, look at the second line. How by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me. What does this mean? Yoga can also be practiced without Krishna consciousness. There is possibility of practicing yoga without Krishna consciousness, right? Like the previous yoga, dhyana yoga or karma yoga. One is offering the result of one's work to God, but one may not be thinking of God always. Here Krishna is saying, by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, which means what? I do devotional service, and while I do devotional service, I also think of Krishna. We'll come to that later, which is a very important principle to understand. Yoga in full consciousness of Krishna. Then you will know me in full, free from doubt. Purport. Madhusneha Prabhu, would you like to read the purport?
I would like to read.
Okay, you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, read.
Okay. In this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also, 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna, and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material spirits, such capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yoga. at the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal Brahmayoti, or localized Paramatma realization, is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth because it is partial. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Different types of yoga are also stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahmayoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truths, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, touch Shrunu, or hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore, by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly, or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstarts, puffed up with academic education. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of understanding Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is described in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto as follows. I'll read the English translation. To hear about Krishna from Vedic script literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's hearts, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge as he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees. He becomes fixed in devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes free from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga serves the hard knots of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of Ashamsa Yam Samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Quite a long purport by Srila Prabhupada, in which he emphasized on the importance of hearing. So look at that verse given by Srila Prabhupada from Srimad Bhagavatam. 5 verses are there, starting from Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna, going to Vidyate Hriday Grantis Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha. You found that those 5 verses in the purport? So those 5 verses taken from Srimad Bhagavatam speak about the glories of hearing. The first line of that verse is Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna. One should hear about Krishna. Technically, this stage in Bhakti is called Bhajana Kriya. This is Bhajana Kriya. To hear about Krishna is our sadhana. It's a part of our sadhana. Okay. Then the next is Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. That is Anartha Nivritti. I'm talking about these stages. I'm not explaining them because you'll be learning that again when you study other books in Bhakti Sastri. So here we are just asking you to mark them. So the next line is Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu. That is Anartha Nivritti, where the heart becomes purified from all unwanted habits. And then we have Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki, which means Nishtha will come, steadiness will come in devotional service. Are you able to find what I'm trying to say? Are you able to find in the Sanskrit? No? Specifically devotees who are originally from West Africa. Are you able to find the Sanskrit which I'm quoting? No? Yes, no, nothing? I'm not able to hear anyone. Are you understanding what I'm saying, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can you repeat?
Okay, I should repeat. Fine. In the purport, look at the Sanskrit verses quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam. Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. You found those verses? Yes?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, you found. Everyone
Yes,
found? Everyone found? Yes? Okay. Bhakta Prince Prabhu, did you find? No?
No.
No. Okay. Fine. So let me see how we might communicate now.
The Prabhuji did not read that Sanskrit verse. That is the verse.
That's fine. Let me see. Now this is a bit challenging because some of you are not familiar with Sanskrit. So let me show to you on screen. Okay. Are you able to see this Sanskrit verse on screen? Yes? Everyone is seeing the Sanskrit on screen? This is from the purport. In the purport also this Sanskrit is there. Now what we are trying to say is, in this Sanskrit, there is this line, Shinvatam Swakatha Krishna. This means hearing about Krishna. Technically, this stage is called Bhajana Kriya, the stage of performing sadhana or bhajan. This stage is called Bhajana Kriya. If you don't understand, you have to let me know, because then I'll know how to teach you better. Every time I teach, there's a different audience. And then different audience means different levels of understanding. So if you don't understand, I'll change my style. Okay, so you have to communicate. If you don't understand, let me know. Fine? Everyone understood this thing or no? Yes, no? Who did not understand? You can raise your hand. Everyone understood? Raganuga Prabhu, yes?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
I think there are two issues here now. My understanding is that for the Sanskrit, some of us are not in that position to read it as we read English. However, if you explain it, we understand and we make some few notes. So I think it's different from being able to read the Sanskrit and also understand it. So if you go ahead and explain, you will get it.
Okay, fine. Then we will avoid Sanskrit then in that case. Okay, so let's not look at the Sanskrit then, because some of you don't understand Sanskrit. So in this stage, then because we are not looking at Sanskrit, then I'll not be able to tell you these things. In the English, it will be very difficult to mark it. So we skip that thing. So we'll go to the next verse then. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshataha yaj gyatvaneha bhuyonyaj gyatavyam avashishyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. Phenomenal and numinous, here simplified meaning of that can be theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge or realized knowledge. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. So Krishna said, I'll give you two kinds of knowledge. One is theoretical, spiritual knowledge, and the other is realized spiritual knowledge. Gyan and Vijnana. Okay, Vijnana means special Jnana or special knowledge. I'll give you these two things. So what is that knowledge, Gyan and Vijnana? That is this thing, as you see on the screen. Jnana means Krishna's material and spiritual energies. And Vijnana means Krishna's personality and Krishna's sweetness. Okay, theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge. So the Jnana aspect is covered in chapters 7 and 8. And the Vijnana aspect is covered in chapter 9. And then both Jnana and Vijnana are combined together and covered in chapters 10 and 11. Okay, these charts will help you to study better. When you again and again study Bhagavad Gita, this thing will help you. How the knowledge spoken by Krishna is categorized. So this two, when combined together, makes it complete knowledge. Everything is understood by that. Purport. Someone else can kindly read the purport.
Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. This is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and a friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession directly from the Lord. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas say, Kalsinu Bhagavo Vijanate Savam Idam Vijanatam Bhagavatiti. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, very simple thing. Srila Prabhupada explains that this is transcendental knowledge and one should try to know this. Next verse. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yadatam api siddhanam Kaschin mam veti tattvataha. So when Krishna said, if you know this, nothing else will be remaining to know, Arjuna asked a question to Krishna. So how many people they know this knowledge? This is complete knowledge. How many people know this knowledge? And Krishna is telling in verse number 3, how many people know? Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Which means very rare people know complete Krishna in complete. Very rare people. Out of thousands and thousands of people, some will try to achieve perfection in life. And out of those people who have achieved perfection, some kind of spiritual perfection, only one person, very rare soul, can know Krishna in full. Not easy to know. Right? Manushya Nam Sahasreshu. Purport. Someone please read the purport.
There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the super self, and the process of realization by Jnana Yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. However, Krishna can be known only. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahma realization, for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the supreme person, but at the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahma and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempt to understand Krishna, although the greatest of the impersonalists, Shripad Sankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. His followers do not accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna, even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govinda. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachi Ananda Vigraha Anandi Adi Govinda Sava Karanam. It is very difficult for the non-devotee to know him, although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy. They cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotee class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The so-called path of bhakti practice by unauthorized persons without knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shruti Puranadi Pancharatra him vina ikatiki hari bhakti utpata yeva kapate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishad, Puranas, and Narada Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It is not possible for the Brahma realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muyanti yat shuraye mam tu veda na kas chana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says. And if one does know him, then Sa Mahatma Shudulabha. Such a great soul is very real. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, one cannot know Krishna as he is. Even though one is a great scholar or philosopher, only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna. His being the cause of all causes, his omnipotence and opulence, and his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees. He is the last word in Brahma realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore, it is said, Ata Shri Krishna na Madi na Bhavidgra Yam Indraye Si Sevu Mukhe Jiva De Swayam Iva Shruti Ada. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you must have noticed in these texts, Srila Prabhupada is given long purports. Right? He gave a very long purport to 7.1, then 7.3. Then look at 7.4 also is very long. 7.5 is also very long. Because Prabhupada is giving an introduction to the topic of Bhakti Yoga. And he's covering all the things required for Bhakti Yoga in these purports. Hearing from the right source, knowing that Krishna can be understood in three features, Bhagavan, Paramatma, and Brahman, and how Krishna is the supreme most of all those three features of absolute truth. Then the hearing will take us to basically knowing Krishna, quoting the verse, Sevan Mukhe Jiva Dosh. It all begins by two things, hearing about Krishna and also serving Krishna. Using a tongue, chanting Krishna's name and taking Krishna prasadam. So these things are mentioned here. And go to the next verse. Bhumi, yes, Prabhu, you have a question. Yes, Mataji.
Let Prabhuji say first.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, I can hear you, Prabhu.
Please, thank you for your time. And please, I would like to know, why is it so difficult to know Krishna as the supreme God? Honestly, we have some Christians who are honest in their worship to the Supreme God. However, they find it difficult to accept Krishna as the Supreme God. For instance, I was once Jehovah's Witness, my wife too is Jehovah's Witness. However, when she hears Krishna, it's like I've brought some demon to our house. And I find it so difficult. For instance, yesterday was just a bad day for me because someone called me and he wanted to know more about Krishna, and I preached to that person, and she was so bad. So tell me, why is it so difficult? Those who are even serving God in different forms don't appreciate that Krishna is the supreme God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, in this chapter, go to shloka number 28, verse number 28, this chapter. Just once open that verse. And read the translation of that verse. 728, yeah.
Okay. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in their life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in mind service with determination. Hare Krishna.
Read it again, please. Please read it again.
Okay, thank you. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in mind service with determination. Hare Krishna.
So the point is, people cannot accept Krishna because they don't have sufficient pious credits. It requires some level of spiritual acumen to know Krishna, to understand Krishna. The thing is, you see, others also know God, but they know God partially. To know Krishna means to know God completely. And to know God completely, I should have that much qualification. Like, to give an example, all of us have been to school and we have studied mathematics, isn't it? But is our knowledge of mathematics the same as the knowledge of those who do PhD in mathematics?
No, please.
No. Right? And can everyone do PhD in mathematics?
No, please.
No. Because PhD in mathematics means basically much higher level knowledge of that subject compared to people who in general have general knowledge of that subject, right? Likewise, different people know about God to some degree, but to know Krishna means you know God fully, completely. And they are not yet ready to know God completely. That's why they sometimes run away from that thing. Like, if you ask a layman, would you like to do PhD in mathematics? That person will run away from that proposal. He will say, better leave me alone. I am not interested in PhD in mathematics, because that person is not ready to pay the price. Likewise, to know Krishna means one has to accept many things which one may not want to accept. Like, to give an example, if I accept Krishna, that means I also need to accept the level of purity which is required to worship Krishna. And I am not ready to pay that price. So then Krishna will not be an attractive God to me. So people, that's why they have reservations to come to Krishna worship. Only very special souls, special in the sense that they have purified themselves, either in the past life or in this life, they take up to Krishna consciousness. They take up to Krishna consciousness. Okay, Prabhu? Fine?
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's quite very good.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam. I just want to know in India, some of the religions, they worship Krishna. Is there God only? Like they worship them, they keep the bhogas and do aarti and everything. I'm from Gujarat, so I'm just asking that they do the things from childhood only, but still they are not in Krishna consciousness. How?
There are two ways of approaching any subject matter. One is you approach it because you have scientifically understood the importance of it. The other is you do it because it is a tradition. It is a culture, right? So the people who are born in Gujarat, it's their tradition. It's what their family members in the past have been doing. They worship Krishna. So they just copy the thing, they imitate, they copy, and they follow. But they never inquire, why Krishna? They never inquire. Just like many devotee children, they practice Krishna consciousness not because they know the importance of Krishna consciousness. They just practice because their parents are devotees. Right? Not always they know why Krishna consciousness is important. And that is the reason we see when they grow up, sometimes they go away also from Krishna consciousness, or they don't become very serious devotees of Krishna in Krishna consciousness, because they took it as a culture, as a tradition, something which we got from our parents, you know. So the point is, a person has to put efforts to understand the subject matter scientifically. Then person will be in true Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be just a cultural thing. We do it, it's a part of our culture, a part of our tradition, you know. But not knowing why we are doing it, not knowing that. So in Gujarat, in some other places in India, they accept Krishna as the most important deity. If you go to Bengal, they'll accept Durga and Kali. If you go to South India, they'll accept Lord Shiva. If you go to some other place, some other deity. In other countries, people may be accepting some other personality as their god, which they got as a tradition, as a culture. Is it true that all the people who claim themselves to be Christians, they study the Bible nicely? No. Is it true that all the people who claim themselves to be Muslims or followers of Islam, they study the Quran nicely? No. Likewise, there are many people who are born in India who accept Krishna as God, but they never have even once read Bhagavad Gita or read even one shloka of Bhagavad Gita. So the whole point is, Srila Prabhupada said, these three things are needed in Krishna consciousness: education, culture, education, culture, and practice. Three things. We need to educate ourselves with the science of Krishna consciousness. There has to be a culture of that, and there has to be individual practice for that. Then we become fixed in Krishna consciousness. Then we understand it better. Like we are doing Bhakti Shastri now. Why do Bhakti Shastri? The reason is we want to understand it nicely, thoroughly, deeply. That is the reason. Correct? We don't do Bhakti Shastri because, okay, I'm in ISKCON now, it's a rule. You must do Bhakti Shastri, so I do Bhakti Shastri. Well, no. It is our book, so we should study it again and again and know it better. Because if I understand Gita well, I am more close to Krishna. I know Krishna better. I understand Krishna better. Isn't it? That's the reason we are studying. So next verse, is that okay, Mataji? Yeah, next verse. Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankar iti yamme bhinna prakritir ashtadha. Now Krishna is going to talk about his energies. In verse number 4, he's talking about material energy of Krishna. Material energy. What is that material energy made up of? Made up of 8 elements. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. 8 elements. And out of the 8 elements, the first 5 elements are gross, and the next 3 elements are subtle elements. Like you see on the screen. So this energy of Krishna is also known as nature. This energy of Krishna is also known as Maya Shakti. This is Maya. These 8 things put together, known as Maya Shakti. Fine? And in the next verse, Krishna is going to talk of another kind of energy, which is spiritual energy, known as Jiva Shakti, which is myself, the Atma, the living entity, soul. So let's look into this verse now, verse number 4. Okay. Purport. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, as described in the Satvata Tantra. Vishnostu trini rupani purusakhyani atho viduhu ekam tu mahata Sastri dvitiyam tu anda sansthitam tritiyam sarva bhutastham tani gyatva vimuchyate. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. Which are these 3 Vishnus? You know them, right? One is called Karuna Dakshay Vishnu, the second is called Garbho Dakshay Vishnu, and the third is called Shiro Dakshay Vishnu. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as the Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbho Dakshay Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Shiro Dakshay Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading super soul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma. He is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. So 3 Vishnus, this topic will come again in chapter 10 and chapter 11. You'll study in detail more about these 3 Vishnus. So this energy of Krishna is called Bhinna Prakriti, separated energy, separated material energy. What is meant by separated energy? I'll give an example. Like now we are having this online Zoom session. Okay. I am talking sometimes you are talking. So our speech is getting recorded. You know? Our speech is getting recorded. And then someone will upload, or it is already being uploaded on YouTube. Fine. 1 year later, a person puts on this video and starts watching this video. So that person will hear my voice and will also hear your voice. That voice of mine, which is recorded, that is an example of separated energy. Understood? That voice is coming from whom? From me. So it is my energy or not? It is my energy. But then that recording can exist separately from me. After 1 year, I am not going to be the same. My age will change. Maybe my voice will also change. Right? But that voice is recorded and someone can play it. That is called separated energy. Which means, though the voice is connected to me, still it is not connected to me. It is disconnected. That is separated energy. Fine, understood? But the body which I have, is that a separated energy as of now? No, because next year I'll be carrying the same body with me. It's not that I'll drop this body somewhere and then I go to another place with a different body. No. That is always with me. So Krishna has these 2 energies. One is that can never exist independently of Krishna. And the other is which can exist separately from Krishna. The energy which can exist separately from Krishna is called Maya Shakti, material energy. But the energy which is always with Krishna is called internal potency. Internal potency. Okay, so this is how we understand. That's why if you come to India, I don't know if all of you have been to India, some of you yes, but if all of you have been to India, you'll see you will find no temple of Srimati Radharani where she is alone. You will find no temple of Sita Devi where she is alone. Srimati Radharani is always with Krishna. Sita is always with Lord Ramachandra. Why? Internal energy cannot be separate from Vishnu. But you can find temples of Durga Devi alone, where she is standing alone. Why? Because she is separated energy. Separate. Can exist in a disconnected manner. So these are separated energies. Fine? We understand that point properly. Move on. Second paragraph. Someone else would like to read other than Sarvagopi, Mataji and Raganuga Prabhu? Anyone else would like to read?
This material body is temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these three Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the Purushas, the causes, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energy of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha lokas. And the impersonalists accept this Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also temporary, all pervasive aspect of the Shirodakshaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He is the complete energetic person and he possesses different separated and eternal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestation are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creations or the gross creations, within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialistics. Philosophers who deal with the mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am, and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to be total material creation called the Mahat Tattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of the Sankhya atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from the Krishna's energy and are separated from him. But atheist Sankhya philosophers will poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So here Srila Prabhupada in the purport goes through a lot of technical things, which is not really a topic of Bhagavad Gita in that sense. It is described in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, and also a bit in Canto 3, how the material elements are generated one after another, So we leave it to Srimad Bhagavatam class to discuss on that. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Sastri level, you don't get into so much of detail. It will take a lot of time to explain how these elements are connected to one another. But in total, there are 24 elements. 24 elements which constitute material energy of Krishna. Then the next verse is about the spiritual energy. Apareyamitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. This is apara prakriti. Besides this, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So these energy living entities called superior. Why? What makes it superior? This you have to think and let me know. The material energy is called inferior and the spiritual energy is called superior. Why is it called superior? Now when we are in Maya, we are being controlled by the inferior energy of Krishna. So how are we called superior? At present, Maya is ruling us. We are not ruling Maya. Maya is actually controlling us. We are tightly bound by Maya. So if something is binding me, that thing should be called superior, no? But that is called inferior. And living entity is called superior energy. Why? What makes it superior? Superior means better. Yes, Prabhu, Raghanuga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think it is superior because it is the soul, the super soul, and the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, I think that's why it is superior.
Okay, but the material energy is also coming from Krishna. Both come from Krishna. It's not that only soul comes from Krishna, even matter comes from Krishna.
Yes, however, the material energy definitely is not eternal. If you look at the nature of the soul is Sachi Ananda.
Okay,
so
now you
think,
said material energy is not eternal. Material energy is eternal. The manifestation of material energy is not eternal.
Yes.
Material energy is eternal. Right? It is not, when we say it is temporary, what it means is its manifestation is temporary, but the energy is eternal. So what is that one thing which makes living entity superior? Now, another point, if the living entity is superior, then why is material energy controlling the living entity? At present, when we are in conditioned state, Maya is controlling us. So if I am superior, how can Maya control me? Yes, Prabhu, Ramchandra Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I think Maya also is the energy of the Supreme Lord because scripture says that Krishna is the within and outside. So when we give Maya a chance, he will control us. My Guru Dev told me that, not that Maya don't come to them. Always Maya is with them. But anytime Maya will come, they are busy. So he will not have time, he will leave. But as soon as we posture ourselves, like we don't chant, we don't do spiritual activities, then Maha can have control over us. Because when we are empty, when the mind is empty, he's ready to listen to anything. But
okay,
when
that's fine. That's fine, Prabhu. But the point is, if Maya controls us, why are we superior energy?
Maya control us whereby we don't connect to the original source.
No, but how does it make me superior energy? The question is, how then why is the living entity called superior energy? Superior means what? Better, no? Superior
Yes.
means in a better position. So
Yes.
if Maya is controlling us, why are we called superior? What makes us superior? What is that one thing that makes spiritual living entities superior? What is one quality? It is just one quality.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Once Madhu Sneha, Prabhu, first. I'll come to Mataji next.
Yes,
Madhu Sneha.
the soul is a part of the Lord, and we have the choice to control the right and the wrongs, I think.
Okay, so what is that choice called?
The
What is
choice,
the technical term for that choice called?
the choice means like we can serve. We are not these material bodies.
No, no, that is not the choice. What is, you are correct. What is that choice technically called?
Choice. I mean, we are the servant of the Lord.
No, that's Maya is also servant of Krishna.
Like the others, the animals, and they don't have the choice, and we have the choice. Human bodies is like that.
And animals also have souls. No, we are talking about.
They have the souls, but the choice.
We are not talking about Atma, human beings and animals. We are talking about soul. So you said soul has the choice, isn't it? You said soul has the choice. So what is, instead of saying choice, there's another word for it, which is the answer. What is that? The reason, yeah, Sarvame Gopi Mataji.
I just said that the living entity controlled by Lord.
Maya is also controlled by Lord.
There is Paramatma in living entity.
Paramatma is also in every single atom. Okay, so what makes living entity superior? Living entity has consciousness.
Okay.
That's what makes living entity superior. It has consciousness. Matter does not have consciousness. Because of consciousness, the living entity is called superior energy of Krishna. It gives the living entity free will. Matter does not have free will. That's what you are saying, no choice. That's what matter doesn't have the right to make choice. No free will. But soul can choose. That's why the living entity is called superior energy. Okay, but then though it is superior energy, when it artificially tries to control the Maya Shakti, which is actually to be controlled by Krishna, he loses his superior position and becomes more inferior to Maya. Okay. When it artificially tries to control Maya, which is to be controlled by Krishna, the living entity loses its superior capacity and then becomes controlled by Maya. But it still remains superior energy. So this is the point. Why we are superior? Because we have consciousness. Matter does not have consciousness. That is the reason. Okay. Otherwise, we are also eternal, and Krishna's Maya Shakti is also eternal. It's eternal. Its manifestation is temporary. The universe will be created, will exist for some time, will get destroyed. But then again it will be created. Again it will exist for some time. Again it will be destroyed. So it is eternal. You must have studied this in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada mentioned 5 basic subject matters are there in Bhagavad Gita. You remember that 5 basic subject matters of Bhagavad Gita? Did you discuss this in the introduction? 5 things. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kal, and Karma. 5 things, right? These are 5 subject matters. Out of these, Ishwar is eternal, Krishna is eternal. Living entity is eternal. Time, Kal is also eternal. Prakriti, Maya, Prakriti is also eternal. Only one thing is not eternal, and what is that? Karma. Karma is not eternal. Others are all eternal, right? So this has been discussed very nicely here. Now let's read the purport of this. Someone would like to volunteer reading the purport of this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, let Ramachandra Prabhu read. Raghunagar Prabhu, you can read the next one.
Everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, this material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. This material body is developed because spiritual is present within matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because that superior energy, spirit soul, is present. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the Gangantic universe is developed because of the presence of the supersoul, Visnu. Therefore, spirit and matter, which combine to manifest this Gangantic universal form, are originally 2 energies of the Lord. And consequently, the Lord is the original cause of everything, a fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely, the living entity may be the cause of a big skyscraper, a big factory, or even a big city, but he cannot be the cause of a big universe. The cause of the big universe is the big soul, or the super soul, and Krishna, the supreme. He is the cause of both the big and small souls. Therefore, he is the original cause of cause. It's conferred in Kata Upanishads 2:13. Nityo nityanam chetanam chayanam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, bro. Yes, bro. Have you read the whole thing, Prabhuji? No, I think so. You have not read the whole thing.
Yes, what is
you read 6th. We were on 5th actually.
5th, yes. 5th one was there.
Okay. So 5th one is not yet done, no?
Yes, it has not done.
Okay, fine. So someone can read the 5th one, please, first.
Here it is clearly mentioned that living entities belong to the superior energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross and subtle, are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, and it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. Energies are always controlled by the energetic and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful, as unintelligent men think. The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam as follows. O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all-pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real realization entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position, only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal is all in all respects are actually guided by faulty and polluted opinion. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. These living entities are his superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme, but they are never equal to the Lord in quantity of power. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy, the Supreme Lord, while exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy, the superior energy forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes free from the influence of illusory material energy, he attains the stage called mukti or liberation. The false ego, under the influence of material illusion, thinks, I am matter and material acquisitions are mine. His actual position is realized when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So, we go to the next verse. Etadyoni bhutani sarvanyatupadharaya aham krishnasya jagataha prabhavah pralayasthatha. All created beings have their source in these two natures. So in this material world, everything is a combination of these two energies. Everything, combination of these two energies. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution. Krishna is the source of both these, material and spiritual. Prabhu already read the purport to this, so we move on to the next one. Matah parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya smai sarvamidam protam sutre mani gana iva. So Arjuna then says a question to Krishna that if you are the source of everything, why is your presence so invisible? If God is the source of everything, at least we should be able to trace him out, no? But we are not able to trace him out. We are not able to see him. What's the reason for that? So Krishna says, why? Because everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. When you look at a pearl necklace, you don't see the thread, you only see the pearls. But without the thread, there is no necklace. So Krishna says, my position is like the thread. I am invisible. But if I don't exist, other things won't exist. Like if there is no thread, there cannot be any necklace. The pearls will not be coming together to form a necklace without the thread. Likewise, if we are seeing order and arrangement in this universe, that means there is someone who is putting all that together. And that someone is Krishna. So Krishna says, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. There is no truth superior to me. I am the basis of everything. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Everything rests upon me. Purport. There is a common controversy over whether the Supreme Lord is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. And this is confirmed in every step. In this verse in particular, it is said that the absolute truth is a person. That the personality of Godhead is the supreme absolute truth is also the affirmation of the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. That is, the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, who is the primeval Lord, is the wearer of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person, the cause of all causes. The impersonalist, however, argues on the strength of the Vedic version given in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Tato yat uttatarang tat arupam anamayam ya etad vidur amritaste bhavanti athetare dukkham eva piyanti. In the material world, Brahma, the primeval living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme amongst the demigods, human beings and lower animals. But beyond Brahma, there is the transcendence, who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who can know him also becomes transcendental, but those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. The impersonalist puts more stress on the word arupam, but this arupam is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge, as described in the Brahma Samhita quoted above. Other verses in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad substantiate this as follows. Vedaham etam purusham mahantam aditya varnam tamasah parastat tam eva viditvati mityumeti nanyaha panta vidyatennyanayam yasmat param na paramasti kinchit yasma naniyo no jyayosti kinchit vriksha ivastabdho divitishtati ekas tenedam purnam purushena sarvam. I know that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness. Only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. There is no way for liberation other than this knowledge of that Supreme Person. There is no truth superior to that person because he is the supermost. He is smaller than the smallest. He is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree, and he illumines the transcendental sky. And as a tree spreads its roots, he spreads his extensive energies. From these verses, one concludes that the Supreme Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all-pervading by his multi-energies, both material and spiritual. So Krishna is the rest of everything. How? Because Krishna has many energies, and those energies, they assist Krishna in maintaining everything. He is the basis of everything. Along with his energies, he does the job of taking care of this universe. Now, after Krishna spoke this, that I am the basis of everything, everything rests upon me, Arjuna asks Krishna for some practical examples. How Krishna is the rest of everything, which means the basis of everything. So in verses 8, 9, 10, and 11, Krishna is going to give some examples. Some examples. How? First, Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashisuryayo pranavaha sarva vedeshu shabdah khe paurusham nishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So the taste of water comes from Krishna. The power of illumination in the sun comes from Krishna. The moon also gives moonshine because of Krishna. In the Vedic mantras, there is sound Om, that is Krishna. And in ether, what is the main thing? The sound, that is Krishna. In a human being, the ability to do some kind of work, that is most prominent thing, and that is also Krishna. So in this way, Krishna is saying, I am present in everything. Krishna is the essence of everything. But how is he the essence? In impersonal manner, not in personal manner. In an impersonal manner, he is the essence of everything. All those energies are coming from him. Okay? Purport. Can one kindly read the purport?
Okay. Hare Krishna. This verse explains how the Lord is all pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energy. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine. So the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energy. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energy of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying tasty water to quench man's thirst. That is the way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and the personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Chintya Veda Ved Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahma Jyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, and the Pranava or the Omkar, transcendental sound in the beginning of the every Vedic hymns, addresses the Supreme Lord, because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable name. They prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkara, but they do not realize that Omkar is the sound of representation of Krishna. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extend everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is bliss. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion, and so knowledge of Krishna is liberation, and ignorance of him is bondage. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Srila very beautifully explains here that how actually everything is connected to Krishna. And a person in knowledge is able to see like that, seeing things in connection to Krishna, not seeing them disconnected from Krishna. Maya means to see things disconnected from Krishna. And Bhakti means to see things connected to Krishna, because nothing can exist without Krishna. And a devotee is able to see that link, that connection, how it is connected. Water is connected to Krishna because the taste is coming from Krishna. Sun and moon are connected because the light is coming from Krishna. Like that, one sees the connection. And in this way, that person is Krishna conscious, always, at all times, seeing it connected. Next verse, some more examples. Punyo gandha prithvyang cha tejas chasmi vibhavaso jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapaschasmi tapasvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penances of all ascetics. Purport. Yeah.
Punya means that what is not decomposed. Punya is original. Everything in the material world has a certain flavor or fragrance. As the flavor and fragrance is the flower, and in the earth, in fragrance or the flavor or the earth, in water, in fire, in air, etc. The uncontaminated flavor, the original flavor which permits everything, is Krishna. Similarly, everything has a particular original taste. It can be changed by the mixture of chemicals. So everything original has come small, some fragrance and some taste. The Babasu means fire. Without fire, we cannot run factories, we cannot cook, etc. And that fire is Krishna. The heat in the fire is Krishna. According to the Vedic medicine, indigestion is due to a low temperature in the belly. So even for digestion, fire is needed. In Krishna consciousness, we become aware that earth, fire, water, we become aware that earth, water, fire, air, and every activity principle, all chemicals and all material elements are due to Krishna. The duration of man's life is also due to Krishna. Therefore, by the grace of Krishna, man can prolong his life or diminish it. So Krishna consciousness is active in every sphere. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Next verse. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi partha sanatanam buddhir buddhi matam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Purport. Bijam, yes, Prabhu, you can read. Raganuga Bhakti, Prabhu.
Bijam means
Hare Krishna. Bijam means seed. Krishna is the seed of everything. There are various living entities, movable and inert. Birds, beasts, men, and many other living creatures are moving living entities. Trees and plants, however, are inert. They cannot move, but only stand. Every entity is contained within the scope of 8,400,000 species of life. Some of them are moving and some of them are inert. In all cases, however, the seed of their life is Krishna, as stated in Vedic literature. Brahma, or the supreme absolute truth, is that from which everything is emanating. Krishna is Para Brahman, the supreme spirit. Brahman is impersonal and Para Brahman is personal. Impersonal Brahman is situated in the personal aspect that is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, originally, Krishna is the source of everything. He is the root. As the root of the tree maintains the whole tree, Krishna, being the original root of all things, maintains everything in this material manifestation. This is also confirmed in the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad. Nityo Nityanam Chetanans Chetananam Iko Bahunam Yo Vidahate Kaman. He is the prime eternal among all eternals. He is the supreme living entity of all living entities, and he alone is maintaining all life. One cannot do anything without intelligence. And Krishna also says that he is the root of all intelligence. Unless a person is intelligent, he cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any questions here? No. Yes, Raganuga Bhakti Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. Prabhu, if someone feels that Krishna consciousness is more philosophical and it's not about God, how should you respond to such a person? Honestly,
it depends on who is that person, Prabhu. It will depend on who is that person. So you have to tell me who is that person who asked that question.
I was formerly a ministerial servant of Jehovah's Witnesses, so I was somehow next to eldership, and I made this U-turn to join Krishna consciousness. But my wife is still with them, and they come here. They come home, and we have, before there were so many books we used, so they come and sit with me and they tell me that what I'm reading is just human philosophy. It's more philosophical. It's not about God. And they even compare to Plato and Aristotle and Socrates, and they think that these are fine ideas, but it's not about God. How do you respond to such a person? Hare Krishna.
You ask such a person a question. So what do you mean by information about God? When a person says this is philosophy, so I will ask such a person a question. What do you mean by information about God? So that person will say, tell me about God's activities. So what is Srimad Bhagavatam then? What is Krishna book then? What is it? If someone says, tell me the name of God, then how many names we have to speak about? And how many names they have to talk about? what to speak of God? If you ask them, okay, you will tell us something about God. Tell me about God's family members. Tell me about God's servants. Do they know the names of all those personalities? But we know Krishna, we know Srimati Radharani, we know the gopis, we know the gopas, we know about the father of Krishna, God, we know about the servant of God, we know about the friends of God. So what more information they want? There is no scripture in the world which can give more information about God than the Vedas. There's nothing. The Vedas give us complete knowledge, which is possible to get. All the scriptures, they give limited knowledge. And when we say Bhagavad Gita, this is true. Bhagavad Gita is philosophy, but Bhagavad Gita is not the only book in the Vedas. It's not the only book, isn't it? This is a specific dialogue happening between two personalities. One is God and another is his friend, because of a particular life situation. What is that life situation? That this person doesn't want to fight. And God is trying to convince this person, it's your duty to fight. So you fight. Bhagavad Gita is just one counseling session by God. One counseling session. This is counseling session to Arjuna, isn't it? Correct. So we will tell, we are sweating like anything to understand one counseling session of God, Bhagavad Gita. It's so difficult to understand this. What more information do we need about God? And Gita, whatever Krishna is telling, the philosophy is not dry philosophy. It is something which is related to me, related to the world, related to everything that exists in the world. It is related to that, isn't it? So the point is, Prabhu, people, because they cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness, they are only trying to find faults which do not exist. They're simply trying to find faults which do not exist. They will use complicated jargon words. Oh, you have too much of philosophy. But then you should ask that person, what does philosophy mean? What do you mean by philosophy? What is philosophy? What is it about? Isn't it? Philosophy, what is philosophy? Let's look at the dictionary meaning of the word philosophy. What does philosophy mean?
According to them, Hare Krishna Prabhu. According to them, they said philosophy is the love. Yes, they said philosophy is the love of wisdom. And they believe that not all wisdom comes from God. So what we are reading is from is human love to search for wisdom. And so if you read it, though it's good, however, it's not about God.
Yeah, so the point is, what they are saying is, if a book is written by a human being or some statements are made by a human being, there's no point in studying that. But then we don't say Krishna is an ordinary human being. If they say Krishna is an ordinary human being, then they are at fault. The first premise is Krishna is not ordinary human being. Isn't it? Krishna is God. Because they don't accept Krishna as God, they will say you are only discussing philosophy. Right? Isn't it? So it's the same thing. Like, for example, if a person is studying Bible, what is Bible all about?
They accept that this is the word of God.
So then why accept that as a word of God? So the whole point is, you don't accept Gita as word of God, you accept Bible as word of God.
Yeah, and so I told them that Gita too is the word of God, and I think their problem is Krishna.
The thing is, when we are talking to a person who belongs to another faith, if that person is not open-minded, it's just a waste of time discussing with such people, because that person is not open-minded. So that person will not accept. Even if you give 1,000 logical reasons, that person will still not accept, because that person is not open-minded. Isn't it? That's the whole idea. And they will not become fortunate by philosophical debate. They will become fortunate by, us engaging them in service in some manner. If we try to convince them intellectually, they'll not become fortunate, because they don't have that ability to understand now. The only way to make them fortunate is feed them some prasadam, bring them sometime to the temple, let them hear the holy name, let them take the darshan of the deity, let them do some voluntary seva to the devotees, to the Supreme Lord. In that way, they can become fortunate. But not by understanding philosophy, because now they are not ready to understand the philosophy. So to such people, we need to preach in another manner. It's like you bring them to a place where you can have a discussion with them. And in discussion, you talk general things. Like we don't say we are right and you are wrong. We talk general. But at the end of the discussion, feed them prasadam. Feed them prasadam. So that person will not become purified by the discussion, but will become purified by prasadam. And then that person can become a devotee in future. But by arguments, we cannot convince such people, because you see, in Kali Yuga, people are very degraded. 1,000 years ago, if someone is doing a debate, then that debate had rules of conduct. There were rules in a debate. If one has to use logic, one can use logic in a particular manner only. Right? And if you get defeated, then what? If you get defeated, you have to become a student of the person who defeated you. That is actually the rule in debate competition. But nowadays in Kali Yuga, people are not like this. Even if you convince them and defeat them, still they'll not accept the defeat. They'll not accept the defeat. That's why there is no point in debating. There is no point in debating. The only way to do is somehow or other we share the mercy with them. And then whoever becomes fortunate, qualified, that person comes into the umbrella of Krishna consciousness. Okay, Prabhu, we move on to the next one. Balam balvatam chaham kama raga vivarchitam dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna, purport. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life according to religious principles, dharma should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Krishna conscious. So here, very nice statement is made by Prabhupada in the beginning itself. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. In Kali Yuga, exactly the opposite happens. The more one becomes stronger, the more one exploits. Not one serves, one exploits. The Brahmanas are supposed to serve all the people in the society by their intelligence, by their purity, by their wisdom, by their sadhana, giving guidance and direction. But in Kali Yuga, we see the Brahmanas, instead of serving, they exploit. How they exploit? If we study in the Indian history, they would unnecessarily, misuse the knowledge they have to get monetary remuneration from people, to get a lot of name and fame from people, respect and adoration from people. Likewise, Kshatriyas, same thing for Vaishyas. So people in Kali Yuga, as soon as they get some power, the first thing they do is use that power to show that they are superior, better, in a higher position. Exploit, not serve. So here it's mentioned that the strong has been given the strength to serve the weak, not to exploit the weak. The strong has been given the strength to serve the weak, not exploit the weak. The rich has been given more money to serve others who are not having money, not to become more and more rich. No. The reason Krishna makes one better than others is not because the person who is better should do the job of exploiting those who are weak, but this person should do the job of giving protection to those who are weak. And this thing has to be applied in a very practical manner in everyone's life. If we are in a superior position to anyone, we can use that position to dominate those people's lives, to dictate, or we can use that position to serve others better. Either of this is possible, right? And the second option will lead to liberation. And the first option will lead to greater and greater bondage. Okay, next verse. Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasastamashasya ye matta eveti tan vidhi na tu aham teshu te mai. Know that all stages of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me. All material activities in the world are being conducted under the three modes of material nature. Although these material modes of nature are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is not subject to them. For instance, under the state laws, one may be punished by the king, the lawmaker. But the king, the lawmaker, is not subject to that law. Similarly, all the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are emanations from the Supreme Lord Krishna. But Krishna is not subject to material nature. Therefore, he is nirguna, which means these gunas or modes, although issuing from him, do not affect him. That is one of the special characteristics of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Though Krishna is controlling everything, nothing controls him. Nothing controls him. That is the difference between him and the conditioned living entities. When we try to control something, that thing starts controlling us. But when Krishna tries to control something, that thing doesn't control Krishna. Like, to give an example, if I take the responsibility for some job in this material world, then I'll become a slave of that job in due course of time. Instead of me trying to enjoy it or control it, that job will start controlling me and dominating my life. It's the same thing with relationship in this world. When we try to come into a material relationship in this world, we enter into the relationship thinking that I will be the enjoyer in that relationship. I'll be the controller. But then very soon we realize the other person starts controlling us. Why so? Because the living entity is so small, it cannot control. Cannot control. It tries to control, but then the very thing which it tries to control starts controlling itself, the living entity. Like, to give an example, nowadays people are thinking they are controlling the mobile phone gadget, but it's the mobile phone gadget which is controlling them. Right? We think we are controlling the luxuries and the comforts of life, but actually the comforts and the luxuries have started controlling us. Same thing with the relationships. Same thing with anything else. Why so? Because the living entity has a very small power to control, but the living entity wants to control more than that. And that's what puts the living entity into a state of bondage. Only Krishna can control fully, without being affected by it. But the living entity cannot. Will definitely meet frustration. Next verse, last for today. Tribhir gunamayir bhaver ebhi sarvam idam jagat mohitam na vijanati mam ebhya paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me. Raganuga Bhakti Prabhu. You see, why people don't know Krishna? Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Who am above the modes and inexhaustible. It's not easy to know Krishna because everyone in this world is conditioned by the three modes. How will they understand Krishna? Who is beyond the three modes? Okay, purport. One of you kindly read the purport.
Hare Krishna. The whole world is enchanted.
Please read, Prabhu. What happened? You are on mute, Prabhuji. Okay.
The whole world is enchanted.
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. We can hear you.
The whole world is enchanted by the three modes of material nature. Those who are bewildered by these three modes cannot understand the transcendental to this material nature is the Supreme Lord Krishna. Every living entity under the influence of material nature has a particular type of body and a particular type of psychological and biological activities accordingly. There are four classes of men functioning in the three material modes of nature. Those who are purely in the mode of goodness are called Brahmanes. Those who are purely in the mode of passion are called Kshatriyas. Those who are in the modes of both passion and ignorance are called Vaisyas. Those who are completely in ignorance are called Sudras. And those who are less than that are animals or animal life. However, these designations are not permanent. I may be either a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vyasya, or whatever. In any case, this life is temporal. But although life is temporal and we do not know what we are going to be in the next life, by the spell of this illusory energy, we consider ourselves in terms of this bodily conception of life. And we thus think that we are American, Indian, Russian, or Brahmana, Hindu, Muslim, etc. And if we become entangled with the modes of material nature, then we forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is behind all these modes. So Lord Krishna says that living entities deluded by these three modes of nature do not understand that behind the material background is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many different kinds of living entities, human beings, demigods, animals, etc. And each and every one of them is under the influence of material nature. And all of them have forgotten the transcendent personality of Godhead. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, and even those who are in the modes of goodness, cannot go beyond the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truths. They are bewildered before the Supreme Lord in his personal future, which possesses all beauty, opulence, knowledge, strength, fame, and renunciation, when even those who are in goodness cannot understand. What hope is there for those in passion and ignorance? Krishna consciousness is transcendental to all these three modes of material nature, and those who are truly established in Krishna consciousness are actually liberated. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. So we'll stop here. Any questions, please? You can ask.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu, for your presence and for your calmness in accommodating the epilepsy of attendance. We promise to do better from tomorrow. We promise you this. The attendance will be better and will be more consistent. There are some network problems and we try to see how to adjust, so that is about that. But we thank you very much. The second information is that by tomorrow, the class is going to be 7:30 a.m. also, not 10. Tomorrow's class will be 7:30 a.m. The same time we are having the Bhakti Vaibhava program. Right now, Salika Prabhu is wondering, what is he talking about? Yes, it is true. Tomorrow Bhakti Vaibhava will be 7:30 and Bhakti Sastri will be 7:30. And Salika Prabhu is asking in his mind, how is it going to be? And there's a little miracle on the way. Yeah, I discussed with His Grace Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu, and he revealed that he's having a class, another class. He has been having it for more than a month. At that same time, that means that class was there before our own. So we cannot knock off that. Instead, there will be adjustment. So in the end, he came up with a miracle. Actually, Madhusudan Vishnu Prabhu has a platform, and is very self-sacrificing also. So he has agreed to use the platform for the Bhakti Sastris on Sunday mornings. Because Sunday, 10 o'clock is having another class. So to maintain the two classes, he's going to give us his platform so that we can also do the same thing, 7:30. Because that time is most conducive for him. So please prepare your mind, prepare your gadgets, get your data down, and be there 7:30. And if you want to attend class, try to find a stable network, a stable place where you can stay and attend the class from the beginning to the end. That means you have to make your arrangement ahead of time. Okay, register your determination by locating a place where you can sit down and attend